Let me tell you something, if you'd told me 2 years ago that I'd end up standing barefoot in the Texas mud, coffee in hand, while a tow truck reversed over my wife's flower beds getting ready to steal my late father's truck, I probably would have just laughed and poured myself another cup. But life's funny like that, right? Sometimes it just decides to slap you upside the head and see if you're still paying attention. So picture this: sun's barely up. Birds haven't finished their arguments for the morning, and I'm standing on my porch watching two fellas in cheap tactical shirts try to act like they're the FBI. And buddy, let me tell you, I know what the real thing looks like because, well, for most of my life, I was it. The real deal. Special Agent Trevor Daniels badge and all. Not that you'd guess it looking at me now, flannel shirt, calloused hands, boots, still muddy from fixing a fence. But these two, they had no idea. To them, I was just some stubborn old farmer, the kind you can bulldoze if you yell loud enough and wave around a piece of paper stamped HOA. Joke's on them, right? Because what they were about to learn hard and fast is that some of us have spent a lifetime waiting for people to try and cross our lines. See, my dad's truck, it's a 1972 Ford F100. Old sun-faded red bench seat, smells like cheap cigars and summer hay, dent in the door from a bull that just didn't know when to quit. That truck was my time machine, my anchor, the last real piece of my dad I had left. Every time I turned that key, I could practically hear his voice hell. Sometimes I still do. Maybe that's why when they came for it, something old and sharp woke up inside me. Something I thought I'd put to rest when we bought this patch of land far from the bureau, far from the noise. We got the ranch for peace. Linda, my wife, the only person who knows all my secrets. She thought maybe the cows and the quiet would smooth out the rough edges. She was half right. Most days the loudest thing around here is a cicada chorus. But every now and then you can't keep the wolves from sniffing at your door. First warning sign came in the mail-thick envelope with an HOA seal pressed into the back. I nearly choked on my coffee. Linda laughed, said it looked like a wedding invite from someone with no taste. Inside was this letter, fancy as a prom queen and twice as phony. Dear resident, it has come to the attention of the Oak Creek Meadows HOA that a derelict vehicle is being stored on your property. I mean, come on, derelict. That truck's got more character than half their subdivision. And let's be real, it's parked a good 2 football fields from the nearest house. But it went on. You have 14 days to remove the vehicle or face fines and property remediation, signed with an unnecessary flourish by Karen Smay, self-proclaimed queen of the HOA. I tossed it in the trash. Thought that'd be the end of it. You know what my dad used to say, peace is something you rent, not something you own. Turns out he was right again. A week later, here comes a white SUV HOA, logos peeling off the side looking like a bad undercover job. Out step Hose and Zip, not their real names, but that's what their tags read. And honestly, it fits. Hose is built like a vending machine. Zip's got more nervous energy than a dog in a thunderstorm. They come stomping up to the gate all puffed up, holding clipboards like shields. We're here about the vehicle. Zip says his voice just shaky enough that I have to hide my smile. I keep my arms folded, lean back, give them the stage. Fellas, this property was here before your HOA was even a thought in a developer's head. You've got no authority here. But they don't care about that. They want the show. They want me to cave. Huz gets right up in my face, says I've got 48 hours to move the truck or they'll do it for me. I look at him the way you look at a dog barking on the other side of the fence, just enough attention to show you're not scared, but not enough to invite a bite. You and your buddy here, I say, are about one bad decision away from a trespassing charge. That's your first and only warning. They stomp off dust in their wake, and Linda's at the door with her phone. She caught every word on camera. She knows me, knows I won't let this go. The peace we'd worked so hard for was gone just like that. Sure enough, they're back. This time with backup, a tow truck driver looking like he hasn't said no to a donut in a decade, and they've got a piece of paper that's about as legal as a Monopoly get-out-of-jail card. Linda's filming, I've got my coffee, and I'm wearing my old tactical vest for fun. Because sometimes you have to let folks know quietly that you're not bluffing. They start in on their routine, reading off their order, waving it around, threatening legal action. I let them wind up, let them think they're winning. Then, right when Hose starts telling me how this is authorized by Karen Smay, I pull out my wallet. Not the one for cash, the other one, the badge. Let me tell you, there's a special look people get when they realize they just tried to mug the wrong person. Hose went from tomato red to white as drywall. Zip looked ready to bolt. You're interfering with a federal officer, gentlemen. I say, ticking off charges on my fingers. Grand theft, auto conspiracy, intimidation, you name it. 5 seconds later, they're running for their SUV, the tow truck tearing up my grass, not even bothering to ask for payment. But here's the twist. This wasn't about a truck anymore. This was about power. Karen Smay wasn't going to let this slide, and Buddy, neither was I. Linda and I turned our kitchen into a war room, laptops, legal pads, you name it. She's a wizard with public records, and I still have friends in the right places. What we found: shell companies, phony contracts, liens on elderly neighbors' homes. It wasn't just us. She was bleeding the community dry. I built a case the way I used to in the field. Names, dates, transfers, a whole criminal operation dressed up as neighborhood improvement. We could have handed it to the sheriff, let the wheels of justice grind slowly, but I wanted Karen to show her true colors first. Sure enough, she upped the ante. Set up a security checkpoint on the public road, Haws and Zip, orange cones, folding sign. Illegal as all get out. I drove up, parked bumper to knees with Haws rolled down my window. Nice day for impersonating a police officer, Hose. He blustered about private roads and security. I called 911 on speaker loud and clear. Reported an obstruction, 2 men possibly armed blocking a county road. Zip started gathering cones like his life depended on it. SUV peeled out so fast they left their sign behind. I tossed it in my truck, whistling all the way to town. Next time they came in the dead of night, 3 of them, spotlights blaring, trying to scare us. But I was waiting, military-grade cameras, rolling speakers wired to the porch. The moment they set foot on my land, I triggered the irrigation system. 4 giant sprinklers hit them with cow manure and cold water. Hose fell face first in the mud. New guy screamed, "He'd regret this. I just told them the sheriff was on his way. They couldn't get out of there fast enough." And finally, it all came to a head. Karen herself showed up, white pantsuit, sunglasses, like satellite dishes flanked by her muscle. Tried to march into my barn, yelling about unregistered commercial activity. I stood in her way. When her new enforcer lunged, I put him on the ground so fast he probably still dreams about it. Zip ties on his wrist, badge out, FBI on the line. Within minutes, sirens were screaming up the driveway. Neighbors lined the fences, phones out, watching the queen and her court get paraded off in handcuffs. Justice sometimes is just about standing your ground and having enough cameras to back you up. The feds took it from there. Fraud, embezzlement, intimidation. Karen's little empire crumbled overnight. Hose and his buddy Mitch sang to save themselves. The community took back their HOA, rewrote the rules, and for the first time in years, people started planting flowers instead of putting up no trespassing signs. You want to know the lesson in all this? Real power comes from what you protect, not what you take. Karen built her identity on fake authority, used fear as her weapon. I just wanted peace. But when you poke the wrong bear, especially one who spent a lifetime hunting wolves, don't be surprised when the tables turn. Funny thing is, the dust settles fast in Texas. A few weeks later, I'm out fixing the tractor dad's truck parked nearby, sunlight catching that old red paint. Linda brings me tea, leans against the tire, says, "You know, your dad would have been proud." I think she's right. Not because I fought, but because I stood my ground, didn't run, didn't cave, didn't stoop to their level. Now I gotta ask, where do you draw your lines? When do you say enough is enough? Does it take a badge to stand up for what's right, or just the guts to plant your feet and refuse to be moved? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories. Have you ever had to fight for your own piece of peace? Drop a comment. Share your side. Because if you ask me, sometimes the only way to keep the wolves at bay is to howl a little louder than they do.